All right. Good day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So I'm excited today. I'm always excited, actually. I don't know why I keep saying that, but almost 3 years of podcasting, and I'm still excited to be here and annoying your earlobes. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've got another new guest co-host for you. And obviously on this show, I remind you, for the newer listeners, we're here to fuel your health, business, and lifestyle. So I have a feeling we're going to easily hit on the healthy lifestyle balance components. But your new guest co-host today might understand some of the newer journeys of entrepreneurial pursuit. So let me give you a quick little skinny on her. Personal trainer, bodybuilder, internationally published model. There's a new one. And she runs her own personal training business, Blind Fury Fitness. That's right. Blind is the key word for today. Shout out to Maxwell Ivy, the blind blogger himself, for hooking us up. But anyway, Blind Fury Fitness actually provides one-on-one personal training, as well as online training plans, meal plans, etc., which is getting more and more common nowadays. But I think it's important to be able to target your market, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, because guess what? Here's something else I love about her. She understands something about psychology because she also has a master's degree in counseling psychology. I only minored in psych, and I love geeking out about that on this show as well, and in addition to a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology. So she is healthy, she is fit, and she's a bit of a mindset geek, I have a feeling. So without further ado, Brittany Culp, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, well, love the psych background. So got to just dive into that right away. Did you always plan on doing psych, or did you just kind of stumble across that? Because I stumbled across mine. So
hell no. So it's actually like really funny. When I was younger, I kind of wanted to be an artist. But when my vision started going to shit, that was kind of like,
And you do have some very nice ink. So people listening to this who don't follow it on the YouTube, I always publish all these shows on YouTube. And she's got some nice, they're not full sleeves, are they?
They're half sleeves, so down to the elbow.
Yeah, there you go. I never went with the sleeves. My stuff's on my back, on my ribs, so I could cover it up a little bit more, I guess. So I just never went to the arm route. I don't know, whatever. I have a very large phoenix on my back. So,
well, so what I'm hearing is you still have room. You still have.
Oh, there's always room.
You have options.
It just so happens that my wife's not a fan of ink, and I'm like, well, she's like, you have more ink than any guy I've ever dated. I'm like, and you married me, so I'm gonna get some stuff at it sooner or later. I'll just wear you down.
Yeah. So
it's the art, right? It's the art.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're becoming more common now. Because like I feel like if I would have gotten these half sleeves, say even 6 years ago, and tried to go into psychology, like nobody would have wanted to hire me. But when I did my student internship hours and I was getting my master's, like they didn't even realize I had tattoos until like 1 month in, because I was always so covered up, because I was like, I don't know how they're gonna act, like,
Yeah.
But one day it was just so hot, and like my supervisor, I was in there having a meeting with her, and I was like, do you mind if I take off my jacket? And she just looked at me like, no, why would I mind? And I took it off, and she's like, I didn't even know you were that tatted. And I was like, yeah. She's like, you know that you don't have to cover those up, right? And I was like, well, now I do.
Yeah. What year was that?
That was 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my first piece was, I'm 41 now. I'll be 42. And I think I got my first, I had a Celtic cross down my spine. That was probably, I was like 22. And that was only because I was bouncing at a bar while I was paying my way through college. And like the local tattoo shop people were regulars. So I did the whole, hookup, I've never paid retail for some ink. So, it's how I live my life. I tell people all the time, whether it be pro deals on athletic equipment, mountain bikes, road bikes, it's like, dude, if you want to really afford like an epic lifestyle, find the hookups. It makes things so much easier.
Yeah, you're like the extreme couponer, but for
yeah, like I hate coupons. I'll never do it. I tried doing that once. Like somebody gave me a coupon, and then I went and bought it, and I forgot to take the coupon. And she's like, why didn't you use a coupon? I'm like, because I'm not a couponer. And she's like, yeah, but you're all about the pro deals and stuff. I'm like, that's different.
There's a fine line.
Yeah, you get a verbal yes. You show up and you get ink. Instead of paying $1,000, you pay like $400. I mean, that's my kind of tattoo. So.
Yeah. So I didn't ever really plan to get into psychology. I wanted to be like a photographer for a while there, but like with my eye condition, it basically gets worse as I get older, and there's no way of gauging like how bad it's going to get. you kind of just go with the flow. So once I realized, like, once my vision got so bad that I couldn't read anymore and I was like learning Braille, I was like, I don't think I can do photography or much art unless I want to be like a sculptor, which I didn't. So, so I didn't even realize was interested in psychology until I went to this blindfold training facility when I was 18. Yeah, I turned 18 right after I graduated high school. So before I went to college, because I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do with my life.
Oh, it's okay.
I was
Most of us don't.
yeah. Well, for me, it was like times 10, because then I was like, I don't even feel like I have the skills to be independent in college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went to a blindfold training facility, and basically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you were blindfolded and learning how to operate the world as a blind person. So how to get around the big city. This was in Austin, the capital of Texas.
I've never even heard of that. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but
so people who are losing their vision and want to be prepared for the inevitableness of it usually go and get that kind of training.
What do they call it? Just blindfold courses?
Just blindfold training.
Oh, okay.
So you learn how to get around the big city with a cane. You learn how to cook, clean. You learn about all the different assistive technology out there, and they kind of assess what you're going to need. So like if your goal is to go back to college, well, then of course you're going to need to learn how to use a screen reader. You're going to need to learn about what options there are for getting your books in like accessible formats and things like that. Yeah, so you learn a lot of stuff too. So there's even like adults who lost their sight like later in life and are having to find different jobs, like engineers. Like can't really be an engineer anymore if you're lost all of your sight. So they're exploring new career avenues, how to live independently still, taking a different direction with their blindness. So yeah, I basically went because I wanted to learn how to get around independently, because I grew up in a very small town, like population 3,000. My graduating class was like 86 people. So I was like, how the hell am I going to get around college?
I think I know why you know Max now, because I think that's part of Max's backstory. Like he was, eventually ended up traveling with circuses and stuff like that, but he was from a very small town too, I believe, or still is maybe. I don't even remember. Yeah, I don't think he's in a big city or anything.
No, not really.
Yeah.
So that's how it really happened. So basically while I was there, I got to meet like all different kinds of life people, different walks of life, doing different things. Like even a lot of the instructors there were blind, which was pretty cool. So one of the instructors there, I got like really close with her. She taught career guidance, and she had a master's degree in psychology and actually had a license to practice therapy. And she worked at like a lot of different places, and she somehow ended up there, eventually left to go pursue counseling again, actual therapy counseling.
Wow.
So, but I became really close to her, and she was kind of like a huge mentor for me and got me interested in psychology. So when I graduated that blindfold training facility program and came back for college, I declared my major as psychology, and then I added the sociology on about 2 years in as a double major. And then, just
hustle. I like it.
Liked it a lot.
Getting after it. That's when you find something that you clearly have been able to channel your passion into. What's it a big deal if you're adding on a second major?
Yeah, well, I tell people like psychology is the study of the self and the mind, but then sociology helps with that too, because sociology is the study of people and cultures, and a lot of times the issues that we're struggling with ourselves have to do with our environment and the culture or the people that we're surrounded by. So it helps to understand other people that you're counseling if you understand that group think.
I like that. Well, I mean, it is true. I mean, actually, I could see this totally now crossing over and benefiting you with your newer fitness business, because a lot of consultation is being able to communicate well, interact well, relate to to your target audience, ergo your whatever you want to call them, customers, consumers, clients, whatever. So I'm sure you're able to channel that exponentially into your growth of your business.
Yeah, well, especially when it comes to like because fitness, like you said it yourself, it's a lifestyle. So for people who aren't usually into fitness and they're trying to get healthy, whether it's to look good naked, because let's be for real, a lot of people just want to look good naked.
It's a good incentive. It's a good incentive.
Yeah. So whatever your goal is, whether it's because your doctor told you need to lose weight, or because you want to look good post baby, or because you want to get ready to do a bodybuilding competition or get ready for a cruise, just whatever it is, it's going to require a commitment, consistency, and a lifestyle change. And if your mind isn't in it, you're not going to get the results. So yeah, like motivational interviewing, you have to do a lot with people that come in, and kind of gauge where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like especially working out, it's mental as much as it is physical.
Well, because there's always going to be hard days, you know? I mean, we've all had the good and bad days. Like I just got done trying my first ultra race on a mountain bike. I've never been in my bike. I've done a lot of big bike rides. So obviously this is a different kind of fitness than what you're talking about, but it's still fitness, right? But it's like, okay, you got to be prepared to be able to be in a bike seat for at least 10 hours or more. Like,
yeah,
I used to teach spinning. Okay. At a gym years ago. Okay. That was, hour-long class. Not the end of the world. And you're probably in and out of the saddle, for an hour. I mean, it's spinning. Okay. Now you take that and you stick yourself into the wilderness and you're on a mountain bike and you're climbing and descending and going. This went on. I was on my bike for 10 hours last Saturday. I think my ass went numb.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Total. I mean, and don't worry. I mean, I've done 100-mile events on a road bike, but never did on a mountain bike. It was another new challenge.
Well, all the different terrain. Like,
yeah. Oh, it was definitely not I should say this. It was definitely not a friendly environment for a blind athlete, but I truly believe in adaptive sports. And because I used to coach ski racing, and we had an adaptive program at our mountain here in Northeast Pennsylvania, and they used to bring in athletes from all over the world. And I never saw a blind skier before, and they had, 100% blind, like there's zero eyesight left. And they were following their, I guess you want to call it their guidance coach, but they had microphone, headphones, everything on. And the ski racer was basically following the turns of their coach in front of them through a race course, like aggressively. And I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's fucking cool.
Right?
I'm gonna have my boyfriend look up like a YouTube video of that or something.
You got to. It's so.
Although
impressive.
Now he's probably gonna get ideas and be like, "We need to get you into it." Or he's probably gonna want to be blindfolded and be like, "I need my brother or somebody to direct." I don't know. This could be dangerous.
I will tell you. They said you really do, and maybe there's some psychology behind this. You really do get a bond and a connection. You pretty much have to, because you're
Well, you have to establish rapport and trust. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super challenging. I mean, I got to talk to some of the coaches, and they said it takes years, to build that. I mean, some youth athletes adapt pretty quickly. I mean, there's I remember this is years ago. It's a 12-year-old kid from Japan, and was ripping the course. And I'm like, who's that skiing from? They should get out of the course. And I literally had not started working with that program yet. I'm like, no, that's their coach. I'm like, why are they following each other? And they're like, oh, that's actually a blind racer. I'm like, get out of here. That is awesome. That is cool.
Like, why are they playing ski tag?
Right? Exactly. It's like, okay, dude, like seriously, you guys are a little close on the course. Okay. A little close. Yeah. Because I'm always looking at it as, hey, I don't want anybody crashing, running into each other. And they were so synchronized. It was so cool. It was it's impressive. So there you go. You got something new to check out. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, try blindfolded skiing. see if your relationship survives.
Well, so my boyfriend actually teaches Muay Thai. I'm not sure if you know what that is. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I used to study martial arts, so Muay Thai is impressive.
Yeah. So basically, for people who are listening that don't know what Muay Thai is, it's basically like kickboxing mixed with punches and boxing. So basically, like there's no groundwork like you see in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, there's no grappling.
Yeah, like you see in judo. It's hands, knees, elbows, feet.
Yeah. I like to call that like the classic fisticuffs. It's all upper body there, for the most part.
Yeah. So basically it originated in Thailand. Well, anyway, in Thailand, apparently, according to my boyfriend, he showed me some videos when we first got together. Basically, they do blindfolded Muay Thai over there.
Wow.
So you don't have to be blind, but like sighted people willingly will like put on their blindfolds and step into the ring. And it's weird because they lay, I think it's hay on the ground so that you can hear where your opponent is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, it's not even so much that it's dangerous for the fighters, it's dangerous for the ref because they can't distinguish the footsteps between the ref and the opponent.
Oh,
so
man.
If the ref isn't careful, like he's gonna get like knocked the fuck out.
That is awesome. See, now you gotta make me Google something. I gotta go on YouTube and find that. Ref gets knocked out. Championship fight. hay did him in.
The hay, yeah.
But that's impressive, right? That's a lot of people. I mean, listen, we've talked about this before. I've had Max on the show. I just mentioned you before we started the show today. I just found it. The guy I was talking to you about before we started recording, his name is David Steele. David Steele with an E on the end. Steele.
Oh, okay. I've heard the name. He
Yeah.
is actually in the RP
Yes.
Retinitis Pigmentosa support group that I'm in.
Yeah, he actually runs a group called Stand By Me RP. And he's released, well, back when I recorded, I heard this October last year, the photo I used on his episode, he's already released 3 books, and all the books are his inspired poetry. So he's a poet. So he writes these poetry books, and they're all to help raise money for RP and all this. And it's really impressive guy. So, but that's thanks to Max and also Dave. I at least understand, okay, retinitis pigmentosa. I can actually say it now. Now, to a lot of people that are new to the show, we've been geeking out a little bit here. Let's help them understand a little more about what you're going through, because you kind of hinted at, oh, well, we watch this on YouTube. Well, then people are like, well, wait a minute. We're learning it from a blind fitness model and fitness guru, like getting after it. How is she watching YouTube? So let's help them understand your condition, where you're at today.
So there's different degrees of blindness. So like when people think blindness, they think like pitch black.
Right.
And that's like false. Most blind and visually impaired people still retain some sort of vision, whether it's seeing shadows, seeing blurry, or seeing, at least light perception. There's only like maybe 3 to 4% of the blindness population that see complete darkness.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, and then it also, everybody's remaining vision will depend on what their condition is. Like, did they lose their vision because of diabetes, traumatic brain injury, detached retinas, retinitis pigmentosa, which is what I have. And the thing about RP, as I mentioned earlier, is the progression pattern. Everybody's is different. Everybody's vision deteriorates at different speeds over time. So me and Max and Dave, we probably don't all see the same, even though we have the same disorder. So yeah. So for me, I could see a lot better when I was younger. I got diagnosed with RP when I was 5. Granted, wow. When I was like 1 year old, they already kind of had a feeling that I had it, because like when I started, basically around the time I started crawling, I was like bumping into shit. And my mom was probably thinking, she didn't say this, but this is what I always tell people. She either thought I was like stupid as fuck, or
or it's like, well, there's something else wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's something wrong with her. I don't know what it is, but
okay.
Yeah. So as I got older and they could really like send me to a specialist and confirm that it was RP, that's what happened. So when I was 5, I got diagnosed. And by then they were like, so she's probably going to go blind by the time she's 21. I'm 28 and I still have some residual vision. So that just goes to show you they don't.
Percentage-wise?
It's really hard to say, because that's another thing too. You have good days and bad days, depending how tired you are. The lighting, that's the thing with RP especially, is like lighting has a lot to do with it. So the main thing about RP is that it's a disorder that is like destroying / deteriorating your retina, which is the very back part of your eye that is responsible for you seeing lighting changes, details, colors, all that. So I've never been able to see at night. So I have night blindness. That's like the first symptom of RP.
Okay.
So like at night,
talking about that.
Yeah. So at night, like I don't see anything, but I can see street lights. So like they just look like balls of light, though. I can't see the pole that's attached to them.
I was going to say, you probably get that halo effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I know about that is because I had LASIK surgery when I was firefighting years ago, and I wanted to protect my eyes from the fire because I was wearing contacts and I didn't want to melt them onto my eyeballs. So I went and got LASIK. And I remember as soon as you came out of the LASIK surgery, they said, number 1, rest, sleep, because your eyes just had laser beam shot into them. But 2, they said, you're probably in that first day or so, it won't be able to focus properly, and you're going to get night vision issues, and you're going to, if you look at a light, it's going to have a halo effect or that glowing ball thing, and you're not going to be able to focus. So that's why I was like, oh man, I'm flashing back to my eye surgery. So
yeah, it's like a really bad acid trip. So it's yeah.
I can't speak to that one.
I can't either, but I can assume.
But from what we hear,
Speculate. This is all speculation.
yes,
But
yes.
yeah, so that's the first sign, and then after that, it just kind of slowly just gets you just slowly start to be able to not see as far. So I can see maybe like 3 to 5 feet in front of me on a good day. But the other big characteristic of RP is what we call tunnel vision. So it's like looking through a straw. You don't have any peripheral vision. You can't. So if I'm looking straight ahead, I can't see on the sides.
Yeah.
I can't see directly above me or underneath me. So if I'm looking straight ahead and there's something on the ground and I don't know it's there, I'm going to trip over it. So it's very limited vision. So basically, as you just get older, that tunnel gets narrower. The distance you're able to see gets, less and less. And then your colors kind of start getting distorted too. So like when I was younger, around 7, they realized I had trouble with distinguishing blue and green from each other.
Wow.
Yeah. Because in your retina, you have your rods, which are responsible for the lighting, your eyes being able to adjust in different lighting situations. And then there's the cones, which are responsible for you seeing like details. So like making out faces and seeing colors and things like that.
So what are your thoughts on, I can't remember which podcast I did. I've had too many now. We're approaching 300 shows, by the way. I'm not sure if you're going to be in before the 300 lineup or not, but we'll find out. But somebody told me on a show, they mentioned how they literally cured their poor eyesight with eye exercises. What are your thoughts?
I call bullshit.
I mean, so there is articles on this.
Okay, like, so what the fuck are eye exercises?
That's why I'm asking you. I was like, okay, well, I never bothered really digging
into
it.
How many sets and reps do I need to do of eye exercises?
I mean, I mean, this is obviously tied into other. It's not just physical things, right? You also it's balanced with like you hinted at earlier, proper rest and recovery. For example, like right now, I'm wearing my blue blocker glasses because it's after sunset. So I don't. For example, I've had enough blue blocker gurus on here to talk about the impacts of blue light on our eyes from all the technology that our bodies were never designed to handle. So I try and block that whenever I can. But yeah, I mean, that's why I thought I'd ask Greg. I was like, does she know about eye exercises? Is that a thing?
Okay, so that's another thing too. It may help for certain things, but it's definitely not going to help with RP because, like I said, RP, your retina it's deteriorating.
Okay.
There's not going to be anything that's going to prevent that. It's an inevitable. I mean, if you want to call it a pending doom, so be it. I just say it is what it is.
Yeah.
But because that's another thing too I hear a lot. They're like, they can't just like transplant your eyes. I'm like, that's only in the fucking movies. Like,
yeah,
no.
Come on. No, that's legit.
Yeah. The only part of the eye that is transplantable is the cornea.
Oh, wait a minute. I just figured out who it was. Dr. Travis Ziegler, who is an eye doctor, and he runs the not-for-profit I Love Cares. I remember him telling me that he's literally helped people improve their vision and stop wearing prescriptive eyewear with eye exercises. But again, to your point.
Okay. Yeah. So that's people with basic, your garden variety eye problems, not disorders per se. Yeah.
I mean, he was sharing a lot of other cool stuff too. He was talking about how, everybody's using Visine for dry eyes. He says it's actually very bad for you.
I've heard that.
Oh yeah. He's like, don't do that. There's more. He actually came out with like super healthy, clean eye drops to protect people from bad products like that. So, but I mean, everybody just listens to the commercials and it's like, oh, well, I should buy Visine or Clear Eyes. And he's actually, listen, he's like, if you have a dry eye condition, there's an underlying problem there. It's not, the eye drops are not your answer. It's what is your hydration level, right? Like, what are you doing nutritionally? So we'll look at the rest of your lifestyle. Since we're geeking out about health and fitness today, it's like, okay, people just think, oh, I'll just go buy a bottle. Well, eye drops didn't always exist. So how did we prevent dry eyes before eye drops?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because whether you're blind or you're not blind, hydration, I think, is a little important in healthy lifestyle. Am I wrong on this? What are your thoughts?
Oh, no. I drink a gallon a day or more. So.
Boom. There you go. Speaking of that, I haven't done any screen sharing yet, and I have to show off. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure I'll have us all tagged in the blog article. I'm gonna switch into screen share mode. So you do, and Brittany, for the listeners, you use a screen reader, right?
Yeah, so I use a screen reader. It's called JAWS.
Oh yeah,
Basically, it reads anything that
I just
is.
switched. So
Yeah, my screen reader actually on my phone actually told me that you did that, so
oh,
that's cool.
very nice,
Um,
fancy.
yeah. So I know.
David Steele's did not. I had to do that too. So I'm actually sharing one of your poses, like you're all tanned out and you're doing one of your fitness model things. This is that hump day post from July
Oh
10th.
yeah, the Dorito tan.
Yeah, oh, I like that. That's good. Dorita tan, yeah. But by the way, ladies and gentlemen who can't see what I'm seeing, but I'm screen sharing on YouTube, I will. You know what? I'm going to do an Instagram repost tonight to tell people that I was talking to you because I was trying to do that more. Like, hey guys, stay tuned. This podcast is coming out. Because by the way, popping the booty strong there. I mean, really good pose. That's a nice booty. So just got to throw that out there.
Started from the bottom, now I got one. That's what I tell people because I used to have your typical white girl booty.
Ah,
It was
okay.
like nothing. It was it was tailbone.
The white girl
So,
booty.
which is really sad because I'm actually half Mexican. But
well, you know what? Hey, you don't know how your genes are going to cross through. But anyway, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing this, Culp Brit. So at Culp Brit on Instagram, she's got over 6,000 followers. So people are loving your feed. So you're really growing a good following. Do you know fitness model Rachel Shear?
I've seen that name on Instagram before.
She's got hundreds of thousands of followers, and I just recorded a new podcast with her on Friday. So, there you go.
Nice.
So
I'll
I
have
would
to
say,
go
hey,
look it up.
study her because she has 2 Instagram feeds. She's got her personal name, her brand, like you, and then she's got her brand where she's really focused on nutrition. So she's actually she was so like you. So I want to tie this together, like because you're basically an up and coming healthy fit influencer, but you're really well targeted towards obviously the blind community and beyond. And that's a niche that really she won't be able to tap into. I think that's something that you'll be able to really own that market. And anyway, the point is that she decided to geek heavily about nutrition and actually went to school and ended up studying and becoming a functional medicine nutritionist. So she's all about anti-pharmaceutical and helping people find that natural, clean path into nutrition and helping people find the actual root causes, not just slapping a pharmaceutical band-aid on it. We talked a lot about pharmaceutical band-aids. I'm very passionate about that crap. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I agree. So for me, it's like not everything is black and white. I think like most things in life, there's a lot of gray area. So I guess for me, being on the fitness side of things with eating right, being all about good nutrition and exercise, even if it's just, going for a walk in the park, if that's where you need to start, then so be it. You don't have to be an avid gym lifter 6 days a week or whatever. But I also see on the psychology side of things that sometimes that stuff can help, but it doesn't work because if it's a true chemical imbalance, some people actually need those medicines because we always talk about, oh, you're depressed, you're anxious, just start working out, go running, get that runner's high, eat better.
Serotonin level production.
It'll mess with your serotonin levels. It'll help with your hormones, regulate your hormones, this and this and this. But what people don't understand, if you're like really fucking depressed, like really depressed, like you think of those Zoloft commercials, depression hurts. Like, like you can't even get out of bed. If you can't even get out of bed, do you think somebody's going to go to the fucking gym?
No.
If you can't even get out of bed, do you think that they're going to meal prep? No. So sometimes you do need that medicine to kind of regulate what's going on with your imbalance in your brain so that you can actually operate like a normal human being and get that shit done. So
I'm glad you're bringing that up because I've said this before on the show. I've become much more transparent in life thanks to podcasting, and I don't hold anything back. And I think I might only mention this on maybe 1 or 2 other shows, but I had a very, very brief experience with what depression was. It was actually a post breakup situation. This is years ago. I was in my 20s and my head was up my ass. Well, it still is, but in a different level. And but it was like, I wasn't happy in my career. So I put all my effort into the relationship and then the relationship crashed and burned. And it wasn't really the relationship fault. It was really the fact that I didn't have the rest of my shit dialed. And I could say that now because I figured it all out. But like I literally was like didn't want to get out of bed, and I'm not that guy. Like I'm the go Energizer Bunny. So there was something clearly wrong. So I went to go like speak to somebody, and then they said, well, you should try taking an antidepressant. And I'm like, I don't need drugs. I hate drugs. And they said, listen, just consider it like a short kick in the ass or, restart. I mean, I was like, I think I used it for a month. That's all it took. I just needed something to kick my ass out of the bed. And it was weird. It was like hitting a reset switch on my chemical wiring, whatever. And obviously it was designed to kind of kickstart my serotonin production. And then boom, I was back. I'm back.
So who did you go? Did you go to an actual psychiatrist or
what's the one that can give you the psychiatrist, right? The one that can actually prescribe?
Yeah. So see, that's who people need to go to. I think the reason why psychological pharmaceutical drugs get a bad name is because general physicians are handing them out like candy, and they don't really understand what is good for what and for how long and the dosage. So people need to bite the bullet, and even though it may cost a little bit more, your insurance may not pay for the whole thing like it would a GP. Go to a psychiatrist. That's what they specialize in, because they're all about your mental health. So they don't want you to be dependent on these drugs. They want you to just get on them for when you need them and then eventually get off of them. So what I don't advocate for is people just going and getting on drugs and then not going to talk therapy. You need to do talk therapy and your pharmaceutical drugs if they give you something for your anxiety or depression or both. That way you can learn coping mechanisms to identify triggers, find other avenues towards, alleviating that anxiety or depression, whatever it is, and then eventually get weaned off of the drugs.
Why don't you sum up real quick? We don't want to pass this. This is really important stuff. The talk therapy component. Let's talk about that real quick, just because we kind of like skimmed over it. And I think that is important because talk therapy is at different levels, right? We're not saying it to go do group talks. It could just be literally you're talking to your psychiatrist and you're
one-on-ones. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. One-on-ones. Okay. I just want to clarify that because some people can be like, oh, well, I'm not going to go do it.
No. Talk therapy. So like your groups, like usually that's for something that's like something severe. So different types of groups. There are like bereavement groups. So like if you're dealing with grief from somebody dying, or there are, of course, chemical dependency groups, because at that point, it really does help to have support. But if you want to go and just talk to somebody and it be private and just be between you and your therapist, that's an option too. Now, group therapy sometimes is cheaper, kind of like group training. My one-on-one personal trainings are more expensive than my group training sessions. But yeah, so another thing too is like I think that medical insurance is getting a lot better about making mental health counseling more affordable to people. Because that was the biggest deterrent for a lot of people in the past was, it's expensive or my insurance won't cover it. The place that I did my internship at as a student actually went on a sliding scale. So they went based off of your income. But they also accepted a lot of insurances. So you never know unless you ask. And so if you go to like an actual agency, it's usually cheaper. But if you're going to go to somebody who has like their own private practice, well, then yeah, those people are going to be a little more expensive because, it's their private practice.
Yeah, and admittedly, I did that because I was still working for a corporation at the time, and this is probably 15 years ago. So it was, I had some pretty good solid insurance. So yeah, the one-on-one wasn't that big a deal. So.
Yeah. And if you're a student, so that's the biggest thing too, because I think that like it happens a lot, like how you said, like in your 20s, you go through these bouts of anxiety and depression, whether it be because of breakups or because you're kind of lost in life or you just don't know what direction your life is going. There's actually, if you're a college student, most college campuses have free counseling for students.
Yeah. A great book I read back then was, and the funny thing is now if you Google it or go on Amazon, there's more than one version of it. I actually found a book called Quarter Life Crisis. And I was like, am I really literally snapping? I was like, what the fuck is this shit? And it was actually a really good book. I will say it was, because everybody thinks everybody has a meltdown in the midlife crisis. Well, I mean, especially nowadays, like what you just brought up, I mean, the millennial generation is pretty high strung, man. Like some people are taking shit a little bit too seriously. I mean, am I wrong on that?
No, I totally agree. I think a lot of it has to do with social media. Everybody's allowed to voice their opinion. And then at the same time, everybody thinks that since this person's voicing their opinion, that means I can argue mine. And everybody's trying to change everybody's mind. It's just like, just let them fucking be.
Yeah.
Let them have you're not going to change anybody's mind about certain things.
We have freedom of speech in our Constitution because it's our right to speak. It doesn't mean you got to sit there then counteract and create a fight out of every damn little comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
That's definitely. But, back to like the whole counseling thing, I think it gets a bad rap because people they don't know enough about it. And on top of that too, they're just like, how is talking to somebody really going to help me? Well, how is not talking about your problems going to help you?
Yeah.
It's probably not.
Wait. It's
And
better. It's better to swallow it and just leave it deep down, and then
let
maybe
it fester.
later.
Or who are you talking to? Like your sometimes, yes, your friends can be a good means of support, but sometimes they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. They're just going to kind of tell you to just like put it to the side. It's a phase. You're going to get over it. You need to talk to somebody who's not biased and has specialized in dealing with these kinds of things. So especially depending on what the issue is.
I got a question then for you. So because I know a little bit about psychology, you know a lot more about psychology than I do. After you learned all this stuff, and it takes a few years, but then do you eventually reach a point where your friends, like, you just pretty much tell them how it is, whether they like it or not? Because I reached that point, like, you know what, guys, you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you. So but as your friend, I'm tired of sugarcoating shit. Like, here's the deal. Pull your head out of your ass. I'm the tough love friend now. I don't know. I mean, you're probably much more delicate than I am. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I try to be a little more delicate, but even before, that was another reason why I got into counseling and psychology, was because I was always the friend that people wanted to tell their fucking problems to. Like,
I know.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but yeah, like I try not to really necessarily counsel my friends because, one, that's unethical, but two, It's just like, you got to kind of let people figure things out for themselves. Now, if it gets to a certain point where I'm like, okay, this is getting ridiculous and really detrimental, then yeah, I'm going to say something. But I think a lot of times, like, people need to figure things out on their own. Because that's another thing
people are afraid to. And that's something I always remind my friends. I'm like, guys, like, you can't keep talking to, like, I have friends going through a divorce right now. Like, I'm literally friends with both sides of the equation, which just sucks. But I was like, guys, like, just get it done. All right. You had mediators, then you went to the lawyer thing. Now you're wasting money. And then everybody's talking about it. Like, just stop talking about it. Or, like, finally suck it up and go get a new counselor or something. Like, you can't keep talking to your friends because we're stuck in the middle of it. And we're not here for that. We're here to be your friends. We're not here to hear both sides of the war. It's like,
yeah,
this is why professionals exist.
Well, that too, especially with couples. Because so when I did my internship, where I did my stuff, it wasn't like a specialty kind of place. Like, they literally saw all kinds of people. So they saw couples, they saw children, adolescents, adults, even elderly people, families. So I got to experience like all kinds of populations, and I was most hesitant to work with couples. And I told my supervisor that. And she's like, well, you have to at least counsel 2 couples during your internship here, because how are you going to know if you're going to like it or be good at it if you haven't tried it? I'm just like,
good point.
It just seems like a lot of toxicity. Yeah. I already have enough time handling one person. I was like, I don't know. I was like, but yeah, okay, I'll try it. I didn't dislike it as much as I thought, but I still knew I definitely don't want to be a couples counselor. Like, if I worked at an agency where I had to have a few couples on my docket or whatever, then so be it. But my bread and butter really isn't counseling. And it's mostly because you just can kind of cut the tension with a knife. Like, you have 2 people that sometimes are at the point where they fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
And each person tries to get you on their side.
Oh, I know, right? So, you really think that I noticed that as a friend. I'm like, if you do this to your counselors, no wonder they fired you. I mean, that's like, counselor in the middle of hell.
So not only are you there trying to, help each person as well as help them together, because that's what they're there for. They're there so that they can function together. Mm-hmm. But you're also trying to be Switzerland.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it's a lot. So couples weren't my thing. But couples counseling. And that's another thing too. Some people are just like, oh, couples counseling, it doesn't work. Well, that really depends on the therapist, because that's the same thing for individual counseling too, is not every therapist is the same. Everybody does it differently. So many different approaches to counseling. You have to really kind of research your therapist before you go with them and make sure it's going to be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, couples counseling, a lot of the outcome is going to depend on, well, how willing are you to work in therapy? Is this something you're doing because you really want to salvage your relationship, or is this something you're doing just to say that you did it because you already have one foot out the door?
Good point. Very good point. And so beside the new fitness business, are you still obviously pursuing that passion as well? Or are you like living in both worlds?
I'm trying, because here's the thing. So like I graduated with my master's last year,
Okay.
literally May 2018. And then it took me a while to get my accommodation set up to take my national licensure exam, which is the exam you need to take to get your license to practice therapy.
Oh,
So I finally got it set up and took that in October. So I passed it, the
mhm.
national counselor examination. So now that I did that, I'm what you call a licensed professional counselor intern. So like, you know how like doctors, when they pass boards, they become like an intern, and then they become like a resident
Yeah,
and
you
all
get the
this
residence.
before.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing for mental health counselors, which I don't think a lot of people understand, is like not anybody can just be a legitimate licensed professional counselor. They've made it a lot more difficult, which is good. It's kind of like gatekeeping in a way, if you think about it. So yeah, now I'm an intern. So what that means is I can counsel people, but I have to have a supervisor, meaning I have to staff my cases with a supervisor once a week.
Hmm.
And I also can't bill insurances yet. So I can't do private practice or work at a place where they operate fully on taking insurance from people. So it's really hard right now, especially in the area where I live, which is Corpus Christi, to find a licensed professional counselor intern job, because most people want to hire fully licensed counselors. Because
Yeah.
why? They can accept insurances. They don't need a supervisor. You're basically a free agent at that point. So
So
it's
people
really
probably
hard.
you pretty much have to find that diamond in the rough who's willing to be that mentor and help you
Yeah.
through that transition.
So since October, I've been trying to find a job in that realm, or I've even started looking in bigger cities. But it's really hard, because then the catch-22 to that is the ones that you can find, because you have to do 3,000 LPCI hours.
Wow,
That's a lot.
that's a lot.
Um, Most places, even in the bigger cities, want you to have at least 6 months to a year's worth into your LPCI. So it's kind of one of those things like, how can I get experience if nobody's going to be willing to give me the chance? And on top of that, too, I don't really like to be a bitter Betty and say, oh, they're not picking me because of my visual impairment. But let's be for real. A lot of people do see that as a liability. And if they don't know enough about visual impairments or blindness, you're really not going to be at the front of the running pool a lot of times.
Okay, I'll pull the ignorance card here for myself. Last time I checked, from a psychology standpoint, I think having a good ear is actually more important than a good eye.
If
So
you ask, so I'll give you an example.
I
So
feel like you're actually tuned for this.
I yeah, you would think. I actually had an informal phone interview with some place that I inquired, because I saw that they were hiring and they were going to accept LPCIs, licensed professional counselor interns. So I actually emailed them. I was like, hey, I saw on your website that you were hiring, and it's the type of agency I did my student internship at. I told them where I did my internship. I was like, I'd really like to come in for an interview. So they actually called me, one of the owners, and she literally spent like 20 minutes telling me like her whole life story, which I was like, okay. Um, and then
Interesting.
finally, she started asking me about me. And of course, I didn't tell her I was visually impaired that moment, because I was like, maybe I should
Why do
just
you
wait
have to?
until I go in for the interview, because you really don't have to disclose that.
No, there's laws for
That's
that.
against,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was just telling her about my experience and what I was looking to do. And she's like, well, we're looking for somebody full time. And I'm like, well, that's perfect. I don't want part time. I want full time, because I'm trying to get my hours done. And she's like, oh, okay. But then she started telling me that a lot of my work would be with children, ages 3 to 10. And my biggest thing, so I don't know how much you know about counseling kids, but a lot of their therapy is done through play, which
Yeah,
is very
I just know
visual.
about coaching. Coaching is
Okay.
fine. I don't go into the counseling.
Yeah. So for counseling children, especially ages 3 to 10, they demonstrate a lot of what they're feeling through their play.
Hmm.
So how they play with toys, you can tell a lot by like how a child plays as to what they're feeling inside. Because if you think about it, they're not 3 to 10. They're not going to know what depressed means. They
True.
don't know how to really verbalize what they're feeling. So counseling kids is very visual. So at that point, I had to tell her, I had to be honest, because she was making it seem like 50% or more was going to be working with kids. And then at that point, it wouldn't be a good fit. And it's really not what I'm passionate about doing anyway. I prefer adolescents on up. So I told her, well, I wouldn't mind counseling kids, but I just, at my internship, I sat in on a few play therapy sessions and it was a little difficult for me. And she asked why. And I said, well, because I am visually impaired. And then she's just like, well, how visually impaired? Which, first of all, you're not supposed to ask. But anyways, I'm an open book. So I told her about, how much I could see. I told her about what kind of population I did have success counseling with. I even gave her names and referrals. And she was just really stuck on it. Like, so how do you counsel people? And I'm like, how do you counsel people?
Verbally and with my ears. Why?
And then she's just like, well, what do you do with nonverbal cues? And like for nonverbal cues is basically like facial expressions,
Yeah, mannerisms.
Mannerisms and things like that. And I'm like, well, you can tell a lot by like the inflection of somebody's voice.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear somebody if they're uncomfortable by just the way they're breathing or the fidgeting in their chair
I can hear
or
when
things
somebody's
like
smiling.
that. Yeah, or you can just even ask them. I would ask my clients a lot, like if there was silence, which silence isn't a bad thing. Silence sometimes can be really good because that means they're either thinking or deliberating something or something's sinking in. If the silence was a little too long, I would ask, what are you thinking? So, I mean, it's not rocket science, but for her, it was a huge deterrent because then she was like, all right, well, send me your resume and we'll call you for an interview. Never heard anything from her.
Yeah, one, I'm going to go ahead and back you up. I've done a lot of hiring and firing over the years when I was in my corporate space. That's why small businesses should really hire HR agencies because she's probably stepping a few boundaries that should not have been stepped. But hey, I always say this: everything happens for a reason. You would not have been successful in that environment because you need to be supported. You need to be mentored properly and not have that kind of attitude. So.
Yeah, and the place I did my student internship at, they actually wanted to hire me when my internship was over, but I still had a semester's worth of classes to take before I could graduate. So they had to fill that spot. So, yeah, I've just been waiting. But in the meantime, I've just been doing my personal training because the hours are flexible. I
was gonna
like
say,
doing it.
Was that a key trigger? You're like, I already love my health, love my fitness. Got into the you did the competitive stuff. What, started doing that in 2014?
Yeah.
And the reason why I know that, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm gonna go throw a screen share up again. That's right. She was published in Strong Fitness magazine. I'm an athlete who just happens to be blind, so just wanted to do some screen sharing on there because I love when people get published in magazines. So congrats on that. And
Thank you.
what's the name of the pup?
Pixie.
Pixie. That's a fun name. Now, obviously, is that a fully trained seeing eye dog?
Yes,
All
she
right.
is. She's from Jersey. Yep.
Jersey. Oh man, I was
Mm-hmm.
born there. So, and people still actually want to talk to me. So that obviously what you're discovering about yourself is that obviously, listen, I still passionate about psychology is what I'm hearing, but hey man, I got to pay the bills. I got to take advantage of flexibility. If that happens, great. If not, who knows? You may literally, with all this side hustle, grow a more successful business doing this. I don't know. What are you seeing right now? Literally seeing.
Yeah, I think so because, like I said, I barely started my business technically a year ago, and at that point, it was my final semester of grad school. I needed some extra income because I was getting ready to go to my first national show in Miami, Florida, which is super expensive. So I was like, I need to start making some money because who knows how long it's going to take before I find a counseling job because it's competitive and it's slim pickings down here in this area. So, and on top of that too, I was always getting asked by people for nutrition advice and training advice. And I just gave so much free shit away that actually worked for people. I was like, I should start charging.
Well,
So
and if nothing else, make them at least get you a solid testimonial that you can eventually publish on a website, put on social media. So if you are going to give it away, at least get some
well, that's what I did. I actually had a friend who came to me and was like, I'm just so unhappy with my body, but I can't afford a trainer and I can't afford this. And then I said, look, if you let me post some transformation pictures, because I know that I can get you a transformation, I'll give you something.
Smart move.
So that's what I did. And then even when I first broadcasted that I was going to start my own training business, I put some feelers out there for what I call billboard clients. So I said, I'm going to have two people be my billboard clients, meaning I will do your training plan, your nutrition plan. And if you want to come in for in-person training, I'll do that all for free for 10 weeks. But you have to follow everything to a T. And at any point I feel like you're not holding up your deal, that's it. I'm done.
Smart move.
So originally I was going to only pick one, but then I realized, and then some people will say, well, maybe you're just a little pessimistic. No, I call myself a realist. I picked two because I knew one was going to fail.
True.
So, and sure enough, that's what happened.
The law of averages.
One person really wanted it, got an amazing transformation off of her. I got paying clients, and that's how it started. Because especially as a blind trainer, you have a little more to prove versus a sighted trainer. So I wasn't ignorant to that fact either. So results speak for themselves though. And then anybody who comes in with me for training, because like I get a lot of business by word of mouth, to be honest with you. So people who call me don't even really know that I'm blind, because people who are recommending me, that's not the first thing they think of me. They're just like, oh, Brittany's a trainer and she looks good, like call her up. They're not like,
it does help if you're a product of the product, right?
Yeah, exactly. So these phone consultations that I have with people, sometimes at the end I'll disclose I'm blind. Sometimes I'll just let them show up to their first session and then they find out. And I'm never really hesitant about that, because I know once you come in with that first training session with me, you're fucking coming back, because I'm a damn good trainer. So
there you go. Own it.
Yeah. So it just started like that. And it's really weird because sometimes I transition from, because as you know, personal training, it's like, it's inconsistent sometimes. Sometimes you have these spurts of like, you have so many clients, you don't even know what to do with your time. And then there's like moments like what we call dry spells, I guess, where they cut back because of holidays or, you know, having to fund kids stuff. Because personal training is a luxury. It really is. It can be a little pricey. So that's another reason why online training is becoming so rampant, is because one, it's a little more affordable, but number two, it's kind of fit to your schedule. So every now and then, like, it's really weird. I'll have a huge influx of online training clients, but I'll cut my in-persons will be kind of scaled down, or it'll flip flop. So right now I have more in-person than I do online, which is really weird. But even when I start working as a therapist, I even told my boyfriend this, I still want to do my online training because I can do that literally anywhere. I just need a laptop or my phone to update meal plans, update training plans,
That's the beauty of what you've started, is that I am a fan. I am not a fan of brick and mortar business. I've been offered that many times and I'm like, nah, I want to be able to run a business from anywhere. And there's nothing wrong with brick and mortar. I mean, who knows? You could build a practice one day or a following to a point where you have to open your own facility. That's a possibility. But the most successful fitness, I mean, literally, my client is one of the world's renowned fitness trainers. He's Vinny Tortorich. He was the trainer to the stars of LA. His old brand was the celebrity fitness trainer. And that's what he did. He came from like Nowheresville, Louisiana, and built himself his own career, never worked for anybody. And he was all word of mouth and would go to people's homes, go to people's movies, you know, whatever, movie sites, wherever the fitness was needed to go on. And that's
a mobile trainer. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, he's now 57 years old and we're launching his movie tomorrow, and it's, we crowdfunded it. There's all kinds of cool stuff going on. But anyway, point is, if he can do it, anybody can do it. You just got to be willing to put in the time, put in the effort. And if anything, nowadays, now you have the added benefits of social media and everything else. So when you get that free word of mouth, share it. Okay. Because I tell people all the time, if you can't sell yourself, how do you expect other people to sell it for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's especially training, because it's like you have to be a people person.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to close a sale, so if you're going to be selling a meal plan or an online training package, you have to know how to talk to people. You have to know how to speak their language, put it in terms that they're going to understand, find their why, and kind of lay it out for them. And same thing for training. A good trainer will know a client's limits and be able to push them past those limits in a reasonable way. I can't stand people who train people who are new to fitness and then just kind of put them through the ringer and push them past the point of, it's not even encouraging anymore. It's like making them feel like shit.
Yeah, it's diminishing.
Like, so you're setting them up to fail. And yeah, you want to push your clients, but you don't want to discourage them. That's not the makings of a good client trainer relationship. So yeah, I think that my psychology background has helped me with my clients, but I also think that when I do get back into counseling, that training people is going to help me with my counseling too, because they kind of go hand in hand, the totally physical and the mental. And I mean, I think I even learned that a lot about myself through bodybuilding, which is funny because like psychology, when I was, doing my master's and doing all these things and getting really into the science and the philosophicalness of psychology, is like I learned a lot about myself more than anything, which is really interesting. But bodybuilding kind of just took it to a whole other level, because when you're depleted from, cutting carbs and doing cardio twice a day sometimes, and then lifting, even when you have no energy and you still have life going on outside of that, your mind goes to some really dark fucking places sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've not done the fitness modeling or bodybuilding component, but every person I've ever spoken with has always confirmed that, guys, you don't look like that 24/7, 365. And if you tried to, it's a very unhealthy lifestyle. And usually people have to push themselves to those extreme limits right before showtime. And it is a wear and tear on the body. So you have to allow that period of rest and recover and allow the body to heal and recover. And to your point, there's a major mental load. So it's definitely a great mission to tackle. Everybody I've ever spoken to about it. It shows you your new limits. So
yeah, that's why they say that only like 5% of the population can do bodybuilding. So, and it's because of the mental side of it. And I actually did like my GRP, which is my graduate research project. So it's like a step below a thesis. So like a thesis, you write a proposal and then you do the study. For a GRP, you just write up the proposal, but you have to provide what instruments you would be using, what surveys you'd be using. You have to write up all the consent forms and everything. You just don't do the study. So that's what I did. I did the GRP. And my GRP was actually on basically, does bodybuilding cause mental and eating disorders, or do people who already kind of have mental disorders and eating discrepancies gravitate towards bodybuilding?
Interesting.
So, and basically it was the latter, that people who kind of already have these tendencies tend to supplement bodybuilding as a means of kind of rationalizing their issues. It's not so much that bodybuilding, if you have the right mindset going into bodybuilding, you're going to come out of it just fine, maybe even better. But if you're using bodybuilding to hide something that isn't healthy, it's just going to make it worse. Bodybuilding isn't going to fix your problems.
No,
it's not going to be this thing that turns your shit around. It's really not.
Well,
it's going to make it worse.
If people have body image, self-image issues, back to your point, if there is an eating disorder, I agree with you. I mean, if you can, to be fair, if it's spun the right way and you can come out of that with discovering what you're capable of doing in a positive, healthy way, but it does sound like it's probably few and far between. It doesn't sound like not everybody comes out of that in a healthier mindset.
A lot of that kind of goes with like who you pick to be your coach too, because some coaches aren't really about healthy. They're kind of about win at all costs. Yeah, they're about the records. And then you have some coaches that are a little more evidence-based, that care about your health over everything. And, you know, that's another thing too. Just like how I told you to research your therapist if you're going to go get mental health counseling. If you're going to research your personal trainer, if you're going to do bodybuilding, research your coach, because just because they have people that are doing well doesn't mean that they're doing it healthy. Because the way I see it, which has caused me to shift my focus and my inner circle a lot, as of lately especially, is competing is a fucking hobby. All right? There's very few people that make money off of bodybuilding. Now you can hustle the hell out of yourself, yes, and you can open up like a training business like I did, but the training business and things like that is what's going to make you money. Stepping on stage isn't going to make you money. You spend money to get up there and do that. And I think that people are disillusioned. And above all else, you know, I say it's a hobby, but really at the end of the day, what do you get from it? You get a trophy. You have to do bodybuilding or anything in life like that because you love doing it. You can't do it because you think you're going to be famous or because you're going to be the next big thing. And people get lost in that, I think, and they're willing to do whatever it takes, even if afterwards, when that's all gone, what are you left with? Some fucking trophies collecting dust on your wall? Like,
yeah, what'd you learn from it? What's the good you took moving forward from all that, right? You know,
and if you're not doing it healthy, you're not going to be able to sustain it long term, which means you're going to just be a picture of a good body, and then you're going to sit there completely looking different because your body just doesn't know what to do with itself. So
yeah,
there's a
couple of podcasts that can reinforce everything you just said. I just got done looking for them because I couldn't remember which numbers, but I had a Dr. Mimi Secor. She's late 50s, 60s, hot. I mean, so she's representing, you know, you can age well in any age, but she's a nurse practitioner doctor and hardcore advocate for, again, what she's learned through her daughter's bodybuilding experience, her own bodybuilding experience, the importance, like she's a big advocate for obviously fitness, moving the body, but also LCHF, you know, low carb, high fat. Then I had on, here's this is what you just talked about sustainable, healthy practices. This guy's name is Wade Lightheart. He was back on like 256. He talked about, he made it to the Mr. Universe level. And dude, he said afterwards, he was so jacked up because he was doing all the wrong supplementation. He said his gut health and gut biology was literally broken down and destroyed. He had all kinds of GI side effects and everything else because he thought he was doing everything right and following all the coach's advice, and he was literally destroying his body from the inside out. It was pretty crazy. So it can get pretty hardcore.
Yeah. So even the most reputable, quote unquote, reputable coaches who have the records, you really need to, don't talk to them. Talk to the athletes who are with them and who used to be with them to get their experience. And I wish I would have learned that sooner, but I've learned it now. So for me, as of right now, where I'm at, I'm not going to compete again until 2020 because I'm really trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still going to compete. I love competing. Like I said, at the end of the day, you have to love doing it. And I do want to get my pro card and be the first IFBB bikini pro who is blind. I really do. I've always said, even when I first started in 2014, after I did my first show, because that's the thing about your first show. It's either your goal for your first show is just to do your first show. Because you don't know what to expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really don't. So after you do your first show, it's either going to be something that you're going to be like, that was fun, never want to do it again. At least I have these pictures to show how good I looked. Or you're going to be like, I'm hungry for more. For me, I was hungry for more. Nobody ever thought I would have made it to nationals. And I don't say that because like, oh, I'm trying to make it seem like I was this underdog, like, you know what I mean? Like these freaking story, like, you know what I mean? This Lifetime movie story, but nobody ever took me seriously enough to think I was going to make it to nationals. And for a while there, I didn't even think I was going to make it to nationals. And then I realized I'm my own worst enemy. If I don't believe it's going to happen, it's fucking not. So, I worked really, really, really hard. Won first place at a show that qualified me to go to nationals. And went to my nationals, and I didn't do badly. Clearly didn't get the pro card, but that's okay. Most people have to do a couple of national shows before they get the coveted pro card.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you got to show that you're actually in it for the long haul. They don't want to be just handing out pro cards and all of a sudden you drop away in a year or two, you know?
yeah, exactly. And for people who don't really understand what I'm talking about, so like for bodybuilding, there's the pro level and then there's the amateur level. Um, to be a pro, you have to, one, do a show that qualifies you to go to a national level competition. And then depending on the national level competition, you either need to get first or second place. Each one has its own rules to get a pro card. And then at the pro level, not only are you a pro, you get to compete for money, and you also get to compete to go to the Olympia, which is like the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. So
Nice.
yeah, so for me, I've been to nationals, which means I won first place at a show to qualify me to be there. At my national show, in my height class, so each except for bodybuilding, they go by weight, but all the other divisions go by height, so they'll divide you into a height class. So I got I was like in the middle of the girls in my height class. So there were 26 girls and I landed like maybe 18th place, which really isn't bad because if you think about it, for my first show, national show, everybody who looked there won a show in their prospective states. So they all looked good. You
Nice.
know, they all looked amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
they earn their way there.
yeah, nobody who's there got there by being lazy. So that, yeah. So for me, I'm taking some time off to really grow. I need to grow in certain parts of my body, mostly my legs, because I'm a tall girl. I have giraffe legs. That's what I call them.
What's your height?
5'8".
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
wife's only I'm 6'4", my wife is 5'4".
So you
So
get it being tall, like your extremities are just longer than the average person. You probably have like an amazing reach, like with your
yeah,
arms.
we were
Yeah.
playing water volleyball yesterday, and everybody's like, "His arms are so long." I'm like, "Yeah." I joke around. I call him ape arms. I have if you were a suit guy, I literally have a 37 sleeve for
Oh,
length, and most most average American males are a 33. So is he?
yeah. So I was spot on. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can start a club. We get it.
ape
A
arm
support
club.
group. Yeah. So it's when your arms and your legs are that long, it takes you a while to really get that girth of muscle. Because I always tell people it's kind of funny. Height really in bodybuilding really does have a lot to do with things. Um,
Oh yeah,
so
your
like
muscles are stretched out over a longer distance on the bone. So
yeah. So if you're short and you put on even 3 pounds of muscle,
it's
that's
good.
gonna it's gonna look even bigger
Mhm.
versus on a tall person. So like if I were to put on 3 pounds of muscle, you're gonna be like, where?
Yeah.
On a short person, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I see it. So for me, I'm gonna take a longer off season to really grow. But and actually nobody knows this, so this will be the first time I'm even kind of somewhat publicly announcing it.
Ooh,
I'm actually going to
nice.
do powerlifting in my off
Yeah, that a
season.
girl. See, I'm a huge.
Yeah.
I'm a CFO1 trainer, so I'm a CrossFitter. So it's I'm a big proponent of either hey, pick powerlifting, pick Olympic lifting. You know, everybody's got their own style, but like mix it up, man. Like challenge your body. It's all about well balanced functional fitness. Like mix it up. But powerlifting that'll make your legs strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did my first powerlifting session last week and I'm only doing deadlift category.
Yep, that's good for
So
the butt
yeah, so
and the legs.
yeah, definitely. I noticed. Because I would deadlift for bodybuilding, but not that heavy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna do my first powerlifting meet in December. So I'm
Yeah.
getting ready for that.
As you get bigger into it, something common in my powerlifting friends circles is they like to start sharing on Instagram their new faces. So when you're getting close to those PRs, start having somebody take like funny photos of the faces you make. On the different,
I
I'm
can
not
only
kidding you. You're
imagine.
gonna have a lot of fun with it. You know, since you're such a physically visible person, you know, you're very attractive. So it's like, hey, wait a minute, let's put some really funny, cheesy lifting faces up. So just something to think about. So
Yeah, I
we've
can
had
only
contests.
imagine. This is yeah, I would have never thought about that, but I definitely am. Yeah, so like last Friday was my first like just actual because the structure of a bodybuilding workout, there's so many different ways you can do that.
Yeah,
Everybody trains differently for bodybuilding. I've always lifted heavy, you know,
good
even
building
even
strength.
yeah, even as a bikini girl.
Oh,
What
we
happened to
lost
my
video.
video?
Yeah,
There we go. There we
these
go.
darn iPhones.
I know.
It's not back yet.
Let me see. It should. Oh, there we go.
There
Okay.
she is.
Yeah. So even as a
Keep going. I actually
bodybuilder.
wanted to screen share your Facebook page anyway for Blind Fury Fitness, but keep going. I'm listening.
Okay.
There she is. Blind
Yeah,
Fury.
I always lifted heavy. And now every now and then, depending on like my level of soreness or how low my carbs were, yeah, maybe I'd lighten the load, but I would try to lift as heavy as I could for as long as I could until I couldn't anymore. Um, but there's so many different ways to train for bodybuilding. There's so many different ways to do your nutrition. But for powerlifting, like you're going for the PR. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Let's go big or go home.
yeah, I think the most I ever deadlifted, as I was training for a show for bodybuilding was like maybe 185. That was the most I ever deadlifted. And for my first day last week, I did 3 sets of 3 reps at 250.
Nice. I just got the
my,
screen sharing. We still have your video back, but keep going. I'm listening. I don't know why your
I don't
video's off.
know. I don't know either.
It's
Let me
weird.
see.
Darn you, iPhone. There it goes.
Okay.
So you're already
Awesome.
getting into the PR life. I like it.
Yeah. And then like I actually looked up because I was curious. Like what is going to be a good number for my PR for my weight class, because I'm probably going to be in the 132-pound class.
Okay.
And it said for like an elite power lifter in that class, you're usually lifting between 319 and 330. So I was like,
On a
not
deadlift.
bad for day one. I'm already at 250.
Yeah.
So
And then being tall, that is more
yeah.
challenging for you have a longer pull. So I haven't tested because I've been doing so much bike training. I haven't tested a PR on a deadlift in probably over a year.
Well,
My
my
last PR
powerlifting
was
coach,
375. So
yeah, well, my powerlifting coach made a good point. So like for deadlift in powerlifting, you can pick whatever stance you want. So
oh yeah, a lot of people
shorter,
go wide.
so yeah, so shorter people tend to do like your traditional Romanian kind of deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're tall, like me and you with long arms, you actually have an advantage if if you do a sumo, so a wider,
Mm-hmm.
because your arms are so long, you have the leverage to pull that shit up.
I've never done. I mean, unless we specifically were training a sumo move, I've always set my PRs classic Romanian. So I've always made myself work for it.
Yeah, so maybe try like your sumo, because you might be able to actually add on some numbers because you have the leverage with your arms.
Yeah. And I am adding more training back in again now that race was done last weekend. My wife was like, "You leaned out too much." She's like, "You got to put." She's like, "You're already a tall, lean dude." Like she's like, I was like, "Yeah, but I dropped 10 pounds for this race because I'm like, it was a 100-mile race that I was trying to do." And I'm like, "Dude, that's 10 less pounds that I have to pedal through the wilderness mountains of Pennsylvania. Like I'm
Do you
good."
remember that movie A Bug's Life?
Yes.
I just think of that walking stick.
Well, I mean, I am still. I mean, normally I got to fight to break 195. I'm back up to about 185 right now, and I'm 6'4". So, but I'm an endurance athlete. That's just the way I am. Even when I was wildland firefighting 9 years ago, I was, I had a chainsaw on my shoulder. I had, 40 pounds of gear in my pack. My legs were strong as hell. I never broke 195. I had to fight to keep weight on because we were hiking, 10 to 16 hours a day. But yeah, it's just always been my magic weight range. So.
Yeah, well, your metabolism is probably pretty quick because of the type of training and the type of work you've always
Yeah.
done. But then
Well,
on top of
and
that,
the past 2 years, I've gone full bore into ketogenic
I was
training.
about to say that too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
your nutrition is
I'm dialed.
special. Yeah, I tried keto before. Kudos to you. It wasn't for me. It's not really for everybody.
No, I mean, I also, thanks to me having a podcast, I bring on like gurus and DNA experts, and like I've already done DNA testing. Next up is I want to get like a full blown hormonal panel analysis because I just like to find out more about the body, and that way you know exactly what's supposed to work for you. So
I've been wanting to do that, but so like as I told you, like I'm in the process of I recently switched coaches.
mm-hmm.
So the coach I'm with now is a little more evidence based, and like I'm eating more food than I've ever eaten before, and I still haven't gained weight.
If you eat the right food, you don't have that problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
The biggest problems are the excessive sugars and grains, because grains are converted to sugars. And if your body can't handle it all, it stores it away in fat. I
Mhm.
I don't have any. I mean, I don't have my abs popping this second, But it's like, okay, dude, there's no like fat. Like I'm not. I don't have a fat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I pig out, dude. I'll crush multi steaks. Yeah, I have my own. There's a local eatery near here. I have my own omelet. It's a 6-egg omelet stuffed with veggies, bacon, a side of bacon, and smoked Gouda cheese. And they serve it, and people looking at me and are like, "That's not on the menu." I'm like, "No, that's Scott's omelet." I've been ordering I've ordered it since they've opened it. The guy when he first made it didn't know how to make it because it was so big. So they served it on like a restaurant like chef cutting board. Like it was like a 3-foot by 2-foot cutting board. I'm like, "What the hell is this? You're embarrassing me." He's like, "Dude, I didn't." He's like, "It's so big." He's like, "I don't know how to make it fit a plate." I mean, now 3 years later, he's figured it out. But
You know what's funny? There's a place here in town called Atomic Omelet that we used to go to a lot, and
sounds good.
it's really is good. And I actually ordered an 8-egg omelet one time, and they were like, "You're not going to eat all that." And then I
Love
ate
it.
it all, and they came back. They asked my boyfriend, "Did you help her with that?" He's like, "Nope."
Well, and
So
also, like,
then,
obviously, I didn't eat probably the rest of the day until the evening. This is, I don't eat like those things 3 times a day. So, yeah.
yeah, for me, what I'm learning about my body doing this different type of nutrition is that my body actually loves carbs.
Mm.
Used to kind of keep them at a moderate level before, and now it's pretty high. If I have to say right now, I'm probably eating around 250 grams of carbs a day. Um, yeah, so for a female, that's usually not common, but
Well,
it's
again,
working.
you're not chugging down ho-hos, for
Oh,
your.
no, no, no. I'm eating, for breakfast, I will have a bagel and some fruit. Even before bed, I'm having fruit and rice cakes with peanut butter.
Yeah.
And,
See, the
I'm
movie we have
eating,
coming out tomorrow would blow your mind because that's completely opposite of what you just said.
yeah. I mean, it's like I said, I've tried keto and it wasn't for me, but I've
Oh,
seen
no, it's not about
keto.
keto.
Oh, really?
It's,
What's it
it's the
about?
truth, just the truth about healthy fats. It's actually called Fat, a documentary. It's releasing on iTunes, Vimeo. That's phase 1 of the movie release. We crowdfunded this thing all last year. I ran all the marketing for it. So, I mean, it's got world-renowned doctors and researchers, but it's about teaching people the impacts of excessive carbohydrates and grains on the human body, and why fat got a really bad rap, and why avocados are good for you unless you have an allergy, or
Mhm.
olive oil is good for
Oh,
you. you
even
know
my clients, I tell them I don't believe in anything's really bad unless it's like processed, like
right.
sugary stuff. But if it comes from the ground, like avocados, like I fucking love I eat
Oh yeah,
avocados right
I'll
now.
crush the avocado.
You
Yeah.
need you need um healthy fats. They're
Yes.
for your hormone balance. I don't
There,
believe
see there, and
I
that's
don't
a
yeah.
big part of the movie as well. People don't understand, like leptin and ghrelin are your hunger hormones. They're actually most
Yeah.
stimulated by excessive sugars and grains and manufactured crap. So the best way to stabilize that is, as you just hinted at, whole foods, whole fats. Fats are stabilizing. So yeah.
Yeah. So like for my approach because that's a big thing I get asked too is like, so what kind of diets do you put your clients on? Well, first of all, I don't believe in the word diet.
I don't like that
Diet
either.
and
Lifestyle.
diet, yeah. Diet implies that something's going to be taken away from you. You're going to be miserable. It's temporary, blah, 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 blah. No, I believe in nutrition, you know,
Okay.
feeding your body the right things, feeding your body what it deserves. So I always give my clients moderate to high protein because most people are not eating enough protein.
Oh, I mean, I
Um,
should say I'm more of a carnivore keto, if you want to call it that way, because I crush the meat.
yeah. So you're a person who does keto the right way because what I'm seeing a lot of is people who are doing quote unquote keto and they're doing it the wrong fucking way, the stupid way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just
Um,
like when paleo became a thing, everybody started bastardizing it. It's like, guys, like this is technically, if you look at Paleolithic era, you ate what was available. It was okay. If there was no fruits and vegetables nearby, you were eating a lot of meat, a lot of animal fats, animal meat. Like that's what was it. That was what paleo was started as. And then everybody starts creating paleo baked goods. I'm like, dude, you're manufacturing something. That's
if it
not
sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
boom.
So yeah. So, so keto gets a bad rap, I think, because of people doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're a person who at least eats your protein, which is going to sustain your muscle mass, which isn't going to make you look, and I may sound like a bitch for saying this, you're not going to look skinny fat.
No, there is a lot of skinny fat. I have friends that are skinny fat. That's very, very true.
It's a real thing.
Like
But yeah,
I have a
so
buddy of mine, he barely works out, but because he crushes his carnivore lifestyle, dude, the guy looks good. Like he's got lean muscle mass. Like,
well, that's another thing too. People don't understand is like 70% of your fitness is your nutrition. Your exercise is maybe 30%.
yeah,
Now, that also can be dependent on how sedentary you are throughout the day. So, like if you sit at a desk all day, you
yeah,
could benefit from at least 2 to 3 days of exercise. But if you're a person
you gotta
who,
move the body. Gotta move the
yeah, if
body.
you're a person that moves around a lot at work and stuff, and then yeah, you can get away with just eating the right things
Mhm.
and lose weight or maintain and look healthy. But yeah, so people ask me like, do you believe in low carb, zero carb, high fat? I'm like, I just believe in balance.
Mhm.
That's really what I believe in.
That's a very fair statement. I tell people all the time, I agree with you about the diet word. I use this for yourself. I say, stop using that bad 4-letter words. I was like, you could say shit, you could say fuck, I don't care about that, but like stop saying the word diet. It's a bad 4-letter word because back to your psychology knowledge, it has literally been designed and indoctrinated into us as a short-term mindset. Even the magazines, like they refer to like, oh, here's the new fad diet. It's nothing long term.
Yeah.
You need a sustainable lifestyle. What can you sustain over a long period of time?
Well,
So,
because people really aren't thinking about sustainability, they're thinking about quick.
yeah,
So, but what people
everybody
don't
wants everything now.
understand is that when you crash diet like that, you're not only going to gain the weight back fairly quickly,
Oh yeah.
you're probably going to gain back twice as much. And you're really like hurting your body that way.
Mhm.
On top of that, too, people don't seem to understand it's easy to gain weight. Like, it's hard to lose it. So
Mhm.
I find it very funny when people come to me and they've been eating like shit a majority of their lives, or even eating like shit for 6 months straight, and then 2 weeks later they're like, why am I not 10 pounds lighter or
Yeah.
20 pounds lighter? I'm like, well, you can't undo a 6-month period of eating like shit
No.
and expect that to go away in 10 days.
And
Like,
especially
that's
people who had it for years. There's a term I learned from some biologists, and I loved it. They said, listen, some people are metabolically broken, and the body can heal, it can recover, but depending on the lifestyle you just hinted at, you may need more time than others. Most people that I've ever done body transformation work with, lifestyle transformation work, like as far as the fitness standpoint and the nutrition, I tell them like, don't even bother expecting to work with me unless you're willing to work with me for like 16 weeks. They're like, well, that's 4 months. I'm like, yeah, because we need to establish a foundation. I mean, I was like, I'm trying to teach you that it's not, oh, I'm going to kick ass for the next 30 days and be ready for the beach. That's not realistic.
Yeah. You
That's
have
not
to instill habits, like kind of like in talk therapy, how I was saying coping mechanisms.
Mhm.
You have to figure out what's going to work to keep your anxiety at bay, to help you figure out how to cope with a panic attack. Same thing for nutrition. You have to figure out what works for you. Your coach, even if someone is doing your nutrition for you, they're not going to learn your body in a week.
No.
They have to see, because like that was, so going back to what I do with my clients, so how I said balance, you know moderate to high protein, and then as far as your healthy fats and your good carbohydrates, those tend to be the two things I manipulate the most, because some people do respond to more carbs and less fat, or moderate fat, not zero fat, because you
Mhm.
need those for hormone balance. And then I have clients who it's the opposite. They respond to high fat and moderate carb. So everybody's body really is different. So like you were saying, you were going to go get one of those tests done to see what it is really that your body craves and what it needs and what it benefits from the most.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing to get. I personally haven't gotten one. I want to go get one done, but just by trying a different approach this time with this new person doing my nutrition, I'm learning quite a bit, you know.
Cool.
Um, so, but yeah, so like I don't believe in a diet. I don't believe in zero anything.
Mm.
I just believe in balance, and not everybody is the same. And even then, what worked for you 5, 10 years ago isn't always going to work for you, because your body composition is always changing. As we get older, our hormones are always changing.
Well, the biggest thing for
Um,
weight loss and weight gain is hormones. That you got to figure out
exactly.
the hormone balance. That's it, or reprogramming, or whatever it is in your life cycle. That's the biggest thing. Like you could take all the science out of the equation. It's like, dude, if you could figure out what is jacking your hormones up, down, all over the place, that's boom. You've just hacked a big part of the equation.
Or
And
even stress,
well,
because
again, because
yeah,
cortisol levels
cortisol.
affect
Yeah.
your hormone balances. See, it's all tied together.
It's a never ending circle.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I just realized we go in major long form tonight. I love all of our chatting because we're coming up on almost an hour and a half, ladies and gentlemen. We've only done this a few times on the show, but you have such a gift for the gab. So that's why you're on a podcast right now. And we have so much crap to talk about. It's awesome. I love this.
I'll just have to come back again.
There you go. Darn. Oh, well. Well, you do have a lot to talk about. I'm excited for you. So actually, let me do one more screen share because I did just share this. But ladies and gentlemen, I love the logo you had designed. You love your sparkles and fire. Blind Fury Fitness out of Corpus Christi. Now, because we have the power of digital media nowadays, are you just targeting local or are you also considering doing some digital coaching? Like online?
I do online training for out of town clients too.
Good.
So I've had people in Virginia. I've had people in other states. I mean, other cities here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I've had somebody in Washington before. I am trying to really branch into out of state.
Yeah, there's no excuse now. You could do this. You could have a Zoom call like we're doing today, and boom, done.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I'm not exclusive to Texas or my area. That's the beauty of online training. You can be anywhere. You just check in with me once a week because I do weekly updates for most of my package bundles, just depending. But yeah, if anyone's ever interested, I always tell them, give me a call. Your consultation's free. We talk about 30 minutes, figure out what it is that you want. I'll recommend what I think would be good. We talk about what's in your budget, things like that.
There you go. I like it. Well, and one last plug for Maxwell Ivy.
Yes, thank you, Max.
Max is the man. Again, theblindblogger.net is his site. He does have his own podcast because Brittany was just aired on July 8th for What's Your Excuse, his podcast. So, again, some more love there. So you're getting out there. I like it. How many podcasts now once this one's done?
This is my fourth. So I did Max was my first. And then there's actually a local podcast here in Corpus at a bar every Saturday. It's called Dudes at the Bar.
Dudes at the Bar. Okay.
Yeah, Dudes at the Bar. A photographer friend of mine, Philip, he hosts that podcast. And it's literally him and then his friend Selena and two other dudes who work at that bar.
Cool.
Just talking about random things. So I've been on there twice. And they pretty much just told me, like, you don't even have to ask. Just drop in. Okay. Whenever. It's every Saturday. So I did two with them, and then yours is my fourth.
Awesome.
And I actually really enjoy doing these. Somebody told me I need to like do my own, but I'm like, I don't know about that. Maybe in a few months when I get more experience.
Don't rush it. There is thousands of new podcasts every freaking day. Exactly. So I always tell people, like, I waited and like I was a voracious consumer, and actually I launched my show 3 years ago this September when I met Max because I went to the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference, which I'll be speaking at again this year. And I know Max came again last year, so I'm hoping he's coming again this year. He spoke last year too. So Max is awesome, but one thing I've learned over the years, like, it eventually got to the point where I'm like, man, there's so many good podcasts, but there's also a lot of shitty podcasts. And I was like, I've got something to share. You know, my keyword is fuel. I want to fuel people's health, their nutrition, their fitness, that healthy lifestyle, sharing some of the entrepreneurial stuff like you just shared today. So it's like, dude, let's rock a show, and the rest is history. But wait until it feels right. Or you start getting that itch and you just got to scratch it. That's how I looked at it. So
yeah, for now, I'll just enjoy being a guest.
And honestly, that's all you can do. I keep telling people all the time, like, guys, podcasts aren't slowing down. It's a great medium. This is free content, ladies and gentlemen. Like, she took time out of her evening. I took time out of my evening to record. And now this is evergreen content for you as you grow your brand, because it's always going to be there unless for some reason I went online and deleted everything off, which I don't do that. I'm a marketing professional. Why would I do that? So, well, listen, Brittany, I've had a blast. But all of my guest co-hosts, I asked them to help close the show out. And this is not a huge deal, but it's like, you know what? You've shared so much today. Is there something kind of all-encompassing that kind of sums you up, or kind of like your bigger picture, your bigger mission that you want to leave behind for the listeners that say, hey, you know what? This is Brittany, man. This is where I'm going. This is what I want to do. I don't know. All-encompassing message you want to share?
I think it just comes back to something simple, that I had mentioned in one of my interviews for a magazine that I did. It's called Center Stage Magazine. Okay. And it's very simple. It's 3 words. Find your why. I think for anything in life, whether it's your fitness, your career, friendships that you're maintaining or thinking about cutting off, a relationship, taking a leap of faith and starting a new business venture, just anything in general, I think you should always find your why, because that's going to give you the answers that you're looking for and help dictate your decisions moving forward.
I love it. We've talked about the why many, many times in this show. So you've just aligned yourself quite well, because if you don't know your why in life, figure it out. It'll help drive so much change and so much positive movement forward. It's ridiculous. So I give you a resounding yes. I completely agree. All right. Well, so hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Brittany Culp. All right, Blind Fury Fitness. Check her out on the Instagram. Check her out on the Facebook. You can like and follow her. You can do all the online stalking that everybody does to this day. And then, yes, once this airs, you'll be able to go read up on her on the blog article, watch her on YouTube, and obviously share, because sharing is caring, this podcast with many, many other people, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for listening in. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Brittany Culp. She's definitely here to help fuel your health, your business, your lifestyle. We've done that today.
Yes.
Remember, you too can live the fuel, ladies and gentlemen. Brittany is. We'll talk to you guys again soon.